Hey friends, Sydney here, as well as I got Ronnie and Mr. Biscuits with me right now. Today is the first day of Tour de Fleece, and we are gonna start spinning. It is 6 o'clock my time, and I'm finally ready to chill out for the day. And I'm going to start spinning this Romney that I need for a halibut sweater that I'm going to make. I will be spinning on my electric eel wheel. So starting with a fresh bobbin today, I kind of wanted to make sure that I had a clean slate because I kind of want to just have an accurate representation of how much I accomplished. So I wanted to start fresh. And I'm kind of hoping I can fill up my 8-ounce bobbin by the end of the week. I'm probably not going to film any kind of like reflections or anything every day, but I do plan to document like at least every couple days, maybe weekly, just kind of status checks of how much I've spun, where I'm at, and we'll see what all I get done. Hi friends, it's day 2 of Tour de Fleece. I'm taking a little side quest and washing some alpaca fleece. So here it is. I did add some power scour to this, even though there obviously isn't any lanolin in alpaca. Just because this is a white fleece. I already have one batch out drying right now, and I did get it totally white. I am very excited for this.
Actually, the first partner to be running a 20 this marketing campaign has already been pretty widespread and adopted in China, seeing conversion rates of 10 to 20 to 30% with basic US placeholders for upgrades started seeing conversion rates anywhere from 4 to 5%. 5% is considered a pretty good campaign. So think about the fact that 30% conversion, people are converting and actually purchasing
Hello, friends. It is now day 5 of Tour de Fleece, and I have officially completed 1 8-ounce bobbin of this white Romney that I needed for my halibut sweater. So next on my to-do list is I'm gonna start plying my dark Romney, and I'm gonna get started on that later tonight. And I'll obviously have to split this up into 2 skeins. I can only fit 8 ounces on one of these bobbins, so I'll probably fill up 2 more of these of plied yarn. And then once that is done, that'll probably take me some time. I will cake this up. I might have to make 2 cakes, and then I will do 2 plies from center pool balls. In the meantime, while I am waiting to ply these, I'm currently in my office. I am able to get some spinning done during the workday because I work from home, and during meetings and stuff, I do typically knit or spin to help keep my hands busy. So I've decided to abandon that spindle, and I've started spinning some of the Pullworth silk on my Nano. So my plan now is to make that into a 3-ply. I'll make 2 more bobbins on my Nano of that Pullworth silk and make a 3-ply from that. And then so in addition to the plying and the spinning of the Pullworth silk, I am still making some of those Coopworth bats. I think I have like 6 done now, maybe 7, since Tour de Fleece started, and I'm hoping to not start spinning that until I have almost all the bats done, and it's going to take a long time. Or I at least want to make sure that I don't have any other plans for my eel wheel 6. I do tend to like spinning just like regular, I don't know, normal yarn on my 6, and I like to do more texture type yarns on my treadle wheel, my kiwi. So yeah, that is how it's going so far. It is Tour de Fleece day 7, and I wanted to give another update of where I am. I also am just realizing that I seem to always film when right after I take a shower. I put this bandana on my head so my front of my hair that's shorter doesn't stick up, and it seems like I'm always filming with this bandana on. I literally hardly ever wear it, but anyway, so I finished plying one of my Romney skeins for my halibut sweater. This ended up being, I think, 470 yards, which I didn't weigh this yet. It's probably about 8 ounces because I filled up one of my electric eel wheel bobbins, and I ended up with quite a bit less yardage than I hoped to get for an 8-ounce 2-ply. So for the size that I'm anticipating to make for the halibut sweater, I need, I think, 1,200 yards. I have one more 8-ounce ball of the Romney roving, and I was kind of hoping I wouldn't need to spin that, but it's seeming like I am. So I think I'm gonna finish plying the rest of this that I already have as singles that I have on my bobbin. So I have like half of both of the singles of the bobbins left. I'm gonna apply those, hopefully get that done today, and then start spinning my last 8-ounce ball that I have of this darker Romney. Like I mentioned before, I started this Pullworth silk spin on my Nano. If you watched my Tour de Fleece plans video, I had been spinning this on my Turkish spindle, and that had essentially melted in my car. So yeah, I'm no longer keeping that spindle. I have decided that there's a fiber festival I'm going to later this year, and I'm hoping to get a new Turkish spindle there. But I'm sure you can tell my gauge on my Turkish spindle is significantly larger than what's on my Nano. I originally was going to ply what I had from my Turkish spindle with my Nano, but I just feel like that's not gonna be a good idea. So my new plan is I'm gonna ply these together This one's a little bit smaller, but once this is gone, I will spin from the inner and the outer strand on this, and I'll do that on one of my drop spindles. I like plying small amounts of yarn on drop spindles. It's just, I don't know, I like doing that. And then I ended up, so these are about an ounce altogether, and I have a little collection of like little baby skeins that I have from like leftover plies, things like that. So I'll just add that to my collection, and eventually I will make something from those. And then on my nano, I split the rest of the fiber into 1 ounce chunks, and I'm gonna make a 3-ply from that. So since these are pretty thin, usually when I spin on my nano, I bet this is gonna end up being like a 3-ply fingering, and I have no idea what I will do with that, but yeah, it's coming together pretty nice. Yeah, so day 7, have a couple of curveballs that I wasn't necessarily anticipating about how this was going to go. Now that I have this one skein of the plied Romney done, I'm going to kind of shift gears and prioritize spinning the last ball of the Romney single after I finish plying the rest of the dark that I already have spun. And then I'll be doing the pull worth and the plying on my spindle. Those are just kind of extracurricular projects when I want to break from the Romney. But yeah, that's my new main focus. Hello, so it is currently day 11 of Tour de Fleece. It is July 15th. Today I believe is actually one of the rest days, but I did some spinning this morning. I suspected that I would still spin on the rest days, but I really wanted to finish this 8-ounce bobbin, which I did just finish this morning. So this is the last bit that hopefully I'll need for my halibut sweater. I know in my last update video, I said I was going to ply my other 2 dark bobbins first before I did this, but I pretty much immediately realized that it would be more smart of me to finish this and then ply this between these 2 other bobbins. So I'm now back to plying, and so I have the rest of this darker Romney to ply. I'm gonna wait for that 3rd final bobbin to rest before I ply those, since I did just finish that this morning. And so I'm about to wind this up into a cake so I can 2-ply this, since I only have 1 bobbin of my white Romney, and this should be plenty for the contrast in color that I want for my sweater. And then just to show, this is my first finished skein. I have already washed it, and it turned out it evened out way better than I thought it would. This roving isn't the smoothest, and I am going for a more textured look, but the way that the plies just evened everything out turned out way better than I expected. I thought it was going to be a little bit underspun, but I didn't want it spun too tight. You know, I want it to still be soft and lofty, so it turned out really well. I'm very happy with this skein. So hoping I can get my other 2 skeins to match this, so I don't have to worry too much about alternating skeins as I knit ideally. And yeah, so moving forward, I'm gonna cake up this white Romney and then ply that, and then I will finish plying this dark Romney, and I should have all the yarn I need for my halibut. This has to be the most insane cake of yarn I have ever seen. I managed to get the whole 8-ounce bobbin on the winder, and yeah, I think if I was smart, I would have made 2 of these. It might have maybe been a little bit easier, but as far as spinning this as a ply, I did really want just one ply without having to do any joins or anything. So yeah, very interested to spin this and see how it goes. Hi, so I don't know what day of Tour de Fleece it is, but I have an insane update. I just bought an Ashford traditional wheel on Facebook Marketplace for $100. So hold on one second. So yeah, I just bought this. So here's my kiwi. I do have some mohair on here, which I need to take off this because I'm not having a good time on this. But because I have this the Ashford kiwi, I have an Ashford maintenance kit, and I needed to reattach the footman there. You can see that piece of leather, so I had to replace that. And then I also had the replacement spring and brake band, and watch this, it actually works. Whoa, whoa. Look at that. I'm so excited. So needless to say, I need to look in my stash and spin on my new wheel tonight. I guess while I'm talking on the camera, I will just give another update that my white Romney is officially all plied. My tension for this larger skein was very loose while I was spinning it, so I couldn't fit the whole 8 ounces on it, so I did end up with this extra little skein, but these still need to be washed. I still need to ply my other Romney, but I'm gonna do that on my electric e-wheel 6 because the bobbins on this traditional aren't big enough for me to do that, but I am going to dig into my stash and see what I can start spinning on my new wheel. here for another Tour de Fleece update. So I have lots of plied yarn now. So I have most of all the Romney plied, other than there was a little bit of roving left over from spinning my singles that didn't fit on the bobbins. And then I ended up with this left over on one of my bobbins from plying the dark Romney. I believe as of right now, my total plied Romney of the dark is a 1,112 yards. And the lighter Romney is like 400 something yards. I'm recording on my phone and I have all my numbers in my notes app on my phone, so I don't have the numbers in front of me. So it's actually pretty interesting. My darker Romney is probably actually closer to maybe a worsted weight, whereas the lighter is definitely a little bit thinner. So I got this roving from the same farm, the same seller at the Worcester Fiber Fair, and this darker Romney was way easier to draft. I did long draw on this and it just drafted beautifully. It was super smooth to spin. And then when I washed it, it really just kind of bloomed and fluffed up. This was also actually very, very dirty when I washed it after spinning. I should have taken a video or a picture of the water, but it was like orange. It was surprisingly disgustingly dirty. Whereas this white Romney was a little bit more like sticky. When I was drafting, I had to do a lot more pre-drafting and had to pull against it a little bit more. And it was like very, very clean when I went to wash it. So I think the difference in how the fiber drafted as well as the cleanliness of the fiber plying and washing affected the end result of the bloom, because I did spin them essentially the same exact way, but they did end up different enough that like I can definitely tell. I think in a finished garment it'll be fine, so I'm not too worried about it. But I am using these Romney yarns for my halibut sweater. So I think the size that I was originally going to do wanted 1,200 yards of the dark, which I'm just short on. I think I might cake this up so I can do a 2-ply from a cake on this and just get this off my bobbin. But considering that I believe my gauge or the weight of the yarn that I have spun is bigger than the recommended yarn size, I don't think I'll need as much yardage anyway. So I think my halibut spin is pretty much done. I can, as a stretch goal, ply this just to keep spinning over Tour de Fleece, because I will share that, well, a couple things. So I finished plying the Polworth silk that I originally spun these singles on my Turkish spindle, and I applied these on my drop spindle. And now I just have this little mini guy. I didn't take the yardage on it and it still needs washed. So, but he is done being spun. And then I also have, here is some of the Polworth silk that I have on my Nano. So I have a bobbin on my Nano done of this. I spun a bobbin of this on my new Ashford Traditional. That is currently in my studio, so I don't have it with me here today. And then I'm spinning the last of the singles on my Electric Eel Wheel 6, because this Nano, I think the motor was definitely on its last leg as I was spinning this, because it was like stuttering kind of as it was trying to wind onto the bobbin. So my Nano might be out of commission in the near future. I know I could buy a new motor for this, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. But I was at least able to get this bobbin done, so I'm happy about that. I have about 5 days left of Tour de Fleece. I do still plan on spinning every day until the end. So I think I have about maybe half an ounce or so left of the Pullworth silk on my electric eel wheel 6 that I need to finish. Once I have that done, I will get that plied. That shouldn't take too long. And then I might go ahead and cake this up and spin it just to get it off the bobbin and have something to spin. And then I do have some mohair on my kiwi that I reluctantly started spinning on it a little bit yesterday. I didn't get any footage of that. I'll try to get some footage of that spin within the last 5 days. I was spinning it on one of my recent vlog videos, so I've been working on that for a while, but I've truthfully not been enjoying spinning it the most, but I would like to at least fill up one of those bobbins and get it off my wheel. And then I might end up selling the rest of the mohair I have because I'm just not enjoying spinning mohair, and I personally don't really use it myself. It's usually a yarn that I end up selling anyway, and I just don't have the capacity to spin or make things that I don't enjoy anymore. So that's where that at. I'll probably just, use that as kind of some filler to get me through to the end stretch here, and I'll feel good once I get it off my bobbin. So yeah, that is my update for today. All right, so Tour de Fleece is officially over, and I have all of this to show for it. So I have all my numbers situated. I guess to begin, I'll just kind of run through. So I have my white Romney and what I have finished there. So I spun the single during Tour de Fleece, and I also did the ply. I ended up with 7.5 ounces between the two skeins and 438 yards. And then I have my dark Romney skeins. So these, I had 2 bobbins of singles before I started Tour de Fleece. So during Tour de Fleece, I did all of my plying, and I also spun an additional 8-ounce single, which was then plied. So I ended up with 20 ounces or 1.4 pounds of the darker Romney, which is 1,112 yards. So quite a bit of yarn there. I also have my Pullworth silk skeins. So this is a 3-ply and this is a 2-ply. This one is 100% spindle spun. So I spun the singles on a Turkish spindle prior to Tour de Fleece, and then I applied it on a drop spindle. This little guy is 1.2 ounces and 132.5 yards. And this one, I spun one single on my Nano, one single on my Ashford Traditional, one single on my electric eel wheel 6, and then I applied this on my Ashford Traditional. And yeah, so this is my 3-ply and 3 ounces and 216 yards altogether. So I do still have a little bit of the Pullworth silk on bobbins that I did cake up one of them, and I'm going to ply the remaining bit of that on a drop spindle at some point. And then honorable mention, I finished this cursed mohair that I've been spinning. The reason it's been so difficult is because one, there's a lot of vegetable matter in this. There's a decent amount still left in here, and there were a lot of kind of second cuts and throwaway bits. And I did dye this. So this blue is just from dye that was left in a dye pot from something else I dyed, and I just threw this in there, and it's not totally blue, but I kind of like it with the variation with the blue and the white. It looks kind of nice. So I didn't spin this whole thing during Tour de Fleece, but I did finish it and get it off my bobbin. And this ended up being 5.5 ounces and 142 yards. So yeah, I'm pretty happy to be done with this. I'm happy with the end result, and I'm happy to be done with it. And I don't want to spin mohair again for a long time. And then last but not least, I made a bunch of bats. So I didn't count how many, but this is part of my Coopworth fleece project that I've been working on. And so I have been kind of doing this in the background as well. And I carded a total of 7.3 ounces of bats. And I still have so much more. So now that Tour de Fleece is done and I've done a ton of spinning, I'm just gonna keep working on some of my knitting projects and really focusing on getting those bats done because I would really like to start spinning my Coopworth fleece. And that's my end result for Tour de Fleece. I didn't add up like my total yardage for like all that was spun between like singles and plies, but I'm happy with what I ended up with. My goal was to finish my halibut spin, and honestly, anything else outside of that was kind of like bonus. So I far exceeded my expectations. This was my first year participating in Tour de Fleece. Yesterday was actually the only day that I didn't do any spinning over Tour de Fleece, but I did do like some spinning tangential like things. So I washed some skeins, wound them up on my nitty naughty, and I did card some bats yesterday. So I'm gonna count that as a win. I'm gonna count that as I participated every single day. I even participated on the rest days. So I don't know how many days total that was, but I did spin or do something spinning related every single day. So thanks so much if you've made it this far through this video. I had a really good time filming this and participating in Tour de Fleece. I'd love to hear down below if you also participated, how your experience was, or even if you didn't participate and you had FOMO, maybe you're planning to participate next year. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.